Speak to one Tory MP who's ready for Rishi, and that's the former Culture Secretary, Oliver Dowden. Very good morning to you. I should say you are spearheading Rishi Sunak's campaign. And look, your own camp admitting that whilst you were the clear favourite with MPs, you've had a lot of ground to make up when it comes to the membership. How is that going for you?
Hi, good morning. Well, actually, I'm finding, as we go up and down the country having conversations with members, they're hearing Rishi's message. And I think particularly after the very grave warnings that we heard from the Bank of England yesterday about the future direction of the economy, about the scourge of inflation, they understand that Rishi Sunak is somebody with the skills and the experience to deal with this. And crucially, they understand the first thing we've got to do is crush this scourge of inflation. That is at the root cause of all of this. And that's why, for example, Rishi was endorsed just last week by Nigel Lawson, one of the best chancellors we've ever had, who served under Margaret Thatcher, who understands the need to crush inflation first because it makes everyone poorer, and then to cut people's taxes for the long term.
Endorsements are great, and there's a YouGov poll out today saying that the majority of voters suggest the majority of voters feel that same way, but none of it's any good because amongst Conservative grassroots members on all the polls, he's way behind at the moment, and they don't feel the same way.
Well, look, I've been around politics for quite a long time, as I'm sure both of you have, and we can all remember what polls have said at different times. We all remember before the 2015 election, that was written off for the Conservatives. Before the Brexit referendum, that was written off for Brexit. I've learned that the key thing you have to do is to make sure you get out there, make your arguments to people. And I, both as a constituency MP and former chairman of the Conservative Party, I know that Conservative Party members are sensible people, they're patriots, and they care passionately about this country. But also lots of them have long memories. And they remember how bad it is when inflation gets out of control. Inflation makes absolutely everyone poorer. If you're a pensioner, if you're on a fixed income off your savings, or if you're earning, year after year you get poorer. If you've got inflation at over 13%, and that happens year after year, within a couple of years your savings have reduced in value by a third, your pension's reduced in value by a third. That's why it's crucial that we control that first, and people are responding to that from Rishi.
I was reading over the weekend that, in spite of what you're saying, he has this uphill struggle, perhaps because of his own personal wealth. Perhaps people just perceive him to be out of touch with a lot of those issues that ordinary people are facing. He's having to work even harder with the membership, turning up sometimes 2 hours before hustings, where Liz Truss has perhaps helicoptered in at the last minute. I was reading he's met some 7,000 people. He's been to 18 solo events. But all of that hard work undermined by the leaking of the video that came out on Friday when he was overheard saying that he was trying to work out the formula within the Treasury that automatically diverted money towards those most in need in urban areas. And he's been described as a reverse Robin Hood, which can't be a good look when he's trying to argue on behalf of those who need his help.
Well, first of all, I'd say it's a great attribute of Rishi's that he's incredibly hard-working. I've had the honour of working with 3 previous prime ministers and many people at the top of government. I've never known someone work so hard. And I think you'll see from Rishi, if he is elected leader of the Conservative Party and prime minister, somebody who brings that hard work, passion, commitment to the nation. As for that video, I think he was actually making an important point. And under the Labour years, money was just shoveled into inner city areas on the basis those were deprived, without understanding there is deprivation across our country. Just take my own constituency of Hertsmere. It has some very wealthy areas, but also it has a ward that is in the top 10% of poorest wards in the whole country. Deprivation exists outside the big northern cities, and I think that's the point that Rishi was making, that we need to make sure that we get those resources to where the actual need is and not accept formulas that we inherited from Labour.
But he was talking to members in Tunbridge Wells, which there may be some poor areas of Tunbridge Wells, I don't know for certain, but it's not exactly an area that you think of when you talk about levelling up.
Well, that's an interesting point, isn't it? And it's a similar thing with my constituency. If you get into technicalities of my constituency, there's a ward called Aldenham East, which has the lowest level of deprivation in the entire country. Right next door to it is a ward called Cowley Hill, which is in the top 10% of deprivation. Now, we as Conservatives understand that we need to make sure that we get those resources to where they're needed. And for too long, Labour had taken a blanket approach and ignored those areas of deprivation in London, in the wider southeast of England and other suburban areas. It's really important that we help all parts of the country if we're committed to levelling up.